Friday is here, and unfortunately for some, so will the chance for new thunderstorm development. An active looking weekend ahead with the potential for multiple rounds of thunderstorms capable of producing gusty to localized damaging winds, maybe a bit of hail, a lot of lightning, and unfortunately heavy rainfall. We're going to get into it in this Friday edition of the Texas Weather Roundup. Hi there, I'm Texas Storm Chasers Bully-in-Chief David Reimer. It is February, no, it is not February, it is July the 11th, 2025. What I was trying to say is it's Friday, the 11th of July, 2025. We do unfortunately have more active weather on the way as the upper-level heat dome sits over California, leaving us in an area of not subsidence, no sinking air, meaning tropical moisture, summertime temperatures, and an unusually late-season cool front, all in the forecast over the next 2 days, meaning some of y'all in the Panhandle may not get out of the 60s and 70s over the next couple days, but unfortunately, a lot of moisture, a lot of rain chances on the way. Let's talk about it. We're going to start with the flash flood outlooks. Now, these are technically called excessive rainfall outlooks from the Weather Prediction Center. Like severe weather outlooks, these are essentially on a level from 1 to 4. The higher your risk level, the more likely or more widespread the potential flooding threat will be in your vicinity. The higher risk levels also indicate a level of more serious flooding as well. This is for today and tonight, so Friday afternoon to Friday night from the Weather Prediction Center. I know these don't have city labels on them. My apologies. I'll verbalize them as I can. A level 1 out of 4 risk, meaning isolated, sporadic areas of flash flooding possible across the Texas Panhandle, West Texas. That includes places like Amarillo, Lubbock, down into the Guadalupe Mountains, the Trans-Pecos, down into the Big Bend, Alpine, Marfa, up to Pecos, the I-2010 split. This includes those regions for today and tonight. And we could see some pretty gnarly storms this evening and overnight in the Panhandle in West Texas with localized damaging wind gusts over 70 miles an hour. We'll take a look at that when we get into the HRRR, the High-Res Rapid Refresh model. Going into Saturday, the Weather Prediction Center has introduced and expanded the risk for at least isolated to scattered flash flooding potential across the Panhandle, West Texas, the Permian Basin, the Big Bend, the Davis, Guadalupe Mounds, the Big Country, the Northern Concho Valley, maybe the Hill Country, North Texas, Northwest Texas, Texoma, Northeast Texas, Central Texas, and the Brazos Valley. At this point, and I emphasize with the utmost emphasis, at this point, the best, highest, most likely corridor for heaviest rains and flooding potential will be north of the Kerrville, Burnett, Travis, Williamson County regions. We're going to have to watch it, though. It's a fine line between keeping the heaviest storms just to y'all's north and having them shift south, 30, 50 miles. Clearly, I can't verbalize today. Oh, well. Nevertheless, we're probably going to have some flooding issues going into this weekend, unfortunately. Saturday night. And then the risk on Sunday is confined, in the most part, to West Texas, Northwest Texas, the Big Country, Texoma, North Texas, Northeast Texas, with additional thunderstorms possible. So what do these risk levels mean for everybody? Well, it just means those are the corridors we're watching for the most likely threat of flooding this weekend. Does not mean we're expecting catastrophic flooding. Doesn't mean we're expecting a repeat of last weekend. Doesn't mean we're necessarily expecting widespread flooding. But we are going to see multiple rounds of storms. Some of these storms will be producing very heavy rain. And if we end up with these storms sitting over one area too long, or we get any of these storms that move over areas that got, 1 to 2 feet of rain last week, we could see things escalate quickly. So we're going to have to watch out for sure. Now, let's look at the High-Res Rapid Refresh model, give you all a sense of the timing and the locations. This evening, Nasty cluster of storms may move across the Panhandle and West Texas. We could have localized damaging winds over 70 miles per hour tonight. Borderland, far west Texas, etc., we could have storms this afternoon. Now, most model data suggests that cluster of storms will weaken as it moves southeast towards the western big country, northwestern Concho Valley late tonight. Going into Saturday, we expect thunderstorms will develop in proximity of a stalled cool front. Panhandle, West Texas, Oklahoma, Northwest Texas. Those storms probably are going to move southeast as a cluster into the big country, the Concho Valley, North Texas, Texoma, and depending on the overall track and location, we cannot rule it out making it into the hill country Saturday night into Sunday morning. Storms will be capable of producing heavy rain, gusty winds, maybe a little bit of hail, and a lot of lightning. Yes, heavy rain is possible, and yes, the threat of flooding may exist. Not necessarily on the widespread side, but it's something we're going to watch for, especially in areas where soils are already completely saturated. It's July. Anytime we get a thunderstorm in July, it could drop 2 to 3 inches of rain in an hour. That could be what we have with some of these storms. If we can keep them at least moving at a decent clip, that will reduce the time they sit over one area. But again, folks in the hill country, all the way up into North Texas, Permian Basin, West Texas, Northwest Texas, the Panhandle, even out to the Trans-Pecos and the Big Bend, will need to remain on guard and keep an eye on the sky and keep an updated look at the weather going through the weekend, as the potential for strong to some severe storms exists, along with the potential for at least localized flash flooding. Here's a look at the upper air pattern going over the next week from the European weather model. Heat dome over Southern California, the West Coast today and tomorrow breaks down and weakens going into early next week with a new area of high pressure that is going to eventually try to develop across the western Atlantic and the eastern Gulf, leaving us kind of in a bit of a weakness here in the upper levels, though we start to see some height rises towards late next week. Look, we'll see, all right? We've said that for 2 weeks in a row now, and clearly it hasn't happened yet. At some point it will, because, you know, summer typically acts like summer here, but, well, clearly not yet. So, if that were to play out, scattered thunderstorm chances will continue into next week, especially across the western third to the western half of Texas. But if those height rises don't occur as expected, we could see some pop-up shower and storm chances continue across the eastern half of Texas as well during the afternoon and evening hours. Along with, well, yeah. So assuming we start to see those height rises or that high pressure build in, at least from the east, a bit next week, we can expect the hottest temperatures across the eastern half of Texas with a continued monsoonal look. Western half of the state with continued chances for precipitation. How about I actually show y'all what we expect the radar to look like? Also using the European weather model. We don't have the fancy graphics to show you this with our fancy software, so let me translate the times. This is in Zulu, 0 Zulu 7 p.m. Central, 6 Zulu's 1 a.m. Central, 12 Zulu is 7 a.m. Central, 18 Zulu is 1 p.m. Central. Going through the weekend, next week, you can see we do have quite a bit of thunderstorm activity this weekend across at least the northwestern half of Texas, with the possibility of isolated to scattered storms continuing across the western third of Texas going into next week. You can see this model does build in those height rises or that area of high pressure a bit, starting to shut off rain chances for the eastern third to the eastern half of Texas next week. If that happens, we thought that was going to happen, 2 weeks ago. The area of high pressure in the eastern Gulf ended up being a bit weaker than models depicted, and that allowed for, well, what transpired with the moisture from Barry moving due north into Texas instead of out into New Mexico and far west Texas. Luckily, we have no tropical mischief to speak of over the next 5 to 7 days in our part of the world, so that won't be happening over the next week, knock on wood, but we'll keep an eye out for sure. Definitely not acting like the last 2 to 3 summers, though, that's for sure. Forecast rain totals over the next few days. This is from the Weather Prediction Center, 7 a.m. this morning through 7 a.m. Monday, the 14th of July. Now, let me be perfectly clear. Don't nitpick the numbers here. This is smoothed out and regionalized. We all know that when you look at the rain total map after everything has happened, typically you're going to have folks that miss out, and then folks 10 miles over could get 5 inches of rain. That's how things work, but we don't have that skill to show that on a map over the span of days in advance. So this is a regionalized product showing the potential for 1 to 3 inches of rain. Localized rain totals for sure over 5 inches. Panhandle, West Texas, Northwest Texas, the Big Country, Texoma, North Texas. So, as that continues, we'll have to keep an eye on it. If it shifts south at all, obviously we're going to have a few more issues. Here's the long-range outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. Below average temperatures still showing up. Northwestern half of the state, southeastern half of the state looking warmer. Precipitation still looking a bit above average for mid-month. All right, that's your Texas Weather Roundup on this Friday. We'll keep an eye on the sky. As always, we'll have updates posted on the social media channels, the weather blog, etc. Would not be shocked if we have flood watches issued for parts of the state with this afternoon's forecast update. And if needed, we'll have additional videos later today. We will be doing videos this weekend as well. As always, you can get your local weather forecast, free interactive weather radar, and more in the free Texas Storm Chasers mobile app. It's Friday, so it's time to give a shout out here to our Spinny Doomer members. Thank you for helping us out here. As always, we appreciate it. Amy U, Anthony R. Pelosi Jr., Candy P, Christina West, Deanna, Donald Yellett, J.A., Jennifer, Texas girl up north in Wyoming, who's also one of our amazing moderators, Jeremiah Wisdom, Justin S., Love, Live, Laugh, Manda Cakes, Mandy Kim, Mike Rich, Nancy Rosenberg, Knight Davis, North Texas Weather, Paranoid Pocho, r/Tornado Chats, Rascals ZX2, Ryan Tucker, S00 Patique, Samantha D, Sarah Schmidt, Tanya McGee, and Wendy Hall. Thanks, y'all, for being Spinny Doomers here on the Texas Weather Center. And thank you to everyone who has helped us out by being a subscriber and or a member here on the Texas Weather Center. We'll talk to y'all later. Keep an eye on the sky. We'll keep you updated. Have a good one, and God bless.